Valves come in all different sizes. We've got big valves, we've got short stubby valves, look like a Dalek, tall thin valves, skinny dinky valves, and little cute valves. All the valves share two things in common. Number one, they're all pressurised glass like a light bulb, so you must never drill them. And number two, they all make fantastic accessories or parts to go on your steampunk machines, your inventions, your cyberpunk, your dieselpunk. We can now breathe new life into these without drilling them to make them light up and look like they're new again, repurposing them for a modern interpretation. We'll be doing the eye in a future video, but stay with me and I'll show you exactly how we can reinvigorate these old valves with modern LED technology. And you don't even have to be a wizard at electronics, because I'm not. I find there are two ways to use the valves best, in my opinion. The one is to use a fitting, so it's actually a giant brad, it's a foot off a lady's handbag, and you actually put a washer on top and then sit the valve in. I'll run through that in a moment. And the second way is to use some reduction fittings, copper reduction fittings from a plumber's merchant or from a store. These work really well, but they're both just as easy. All the valves can be lit this way apart from the valves that have the ceramic base. You physically need to light these from the back. I have a couple of machines that are lit from the back, which I'll show you later, but these are a lot bigger. Because they're ceramic, they take a lot more light to light them, but they're still possible, but the little ones light up a treat. So without further ado, I'll start with the one with the handbag foot base. The first way I'm going to show you about attaching them is to use the brads. These are the large brads off a lady's handbag or purse. When you buy them, they have the prongs on them. All you do, pair of pliers, pull them off, and you'll end up with a little brass cup or bronze cup. The next thing is to drill a hole in the bottom. Use a Dremel or use a hobby drill. You can use a proper drill if you want, but just be careful. It gets very hot very quickly and you may burn your fingers, so take care. On the top of that, I've popped a little washer. The washer is exactly the same size as the prongs on the valve. Just goes straight through, and it's actually quite a good fit there. See there. What I would do then, before you put the valve together into the fitment, is to get your LED. The LEDs are also off eBay. Thank heavens for eBay. Red wire is live, black wire is neutral. However, if you get them the wrong way around, the LED just won't light. It's not going to blow it, it'll just won't light, so you've not ruined your LED. They've also got a little flasher unit on them as well. See, just about to see it there. There we are. And what's good about the flasher unit is you haven't got to worry about any messing with electronics. As I said earlier, I'm not an electronics whiz. That will take care of everything for you. You just need to get the power into it. So what we do is the LED goes through the hole in the cup. You've already stuck your little washer on. We pull it through. When you pull it through, be very careful that you don't actually slice through the casing of the LED wires. That's now in the bottom there. And what we'll do now, just put a little bit of epoxy resin in there, and I'll be back when that's dry. While the resin's drying, I'll just give you a closer look of the valve. The valve itself has got a transparent bottom on it, which is perfect for the light from the LED to show through. And what you'll notice, it's got writing on it. What I like to do is just get a scalpel or an X-Acto knife and just rub the light writing off. It just helps to give, looks a little bit more mysterious, and then it doesn't look like an old valve. There we go, it comes off quite easily. It's just printed onto the glass valve. Don't be afraid, they're quite robust, are these. Normal handling, you won't break them. You can actually drop them on the floor and they're fine, just don't stand on them. As I know to my cost I have done before. There we go. There we go. Lovely. Some of them actually have embossed lettering on them that you can't get off, but that doesn't matter, it's just the print we really want to get off. There we go, just give it a little wipe over. While the little housing for the LEDs, for the valve is drying, I just want to show you, what I like to do on all the valves is actually to decorate the ends as well. So you've got the valve in the little fixing, and then we've got a cog on the end, but the cog just helps to give it a little bit more of a bit more flash. And then on the end of there I've got a little brass turning, and then a little LED that I bought which doesn't work. These are actually very low voltage LEDs, and when I hook them up they keep blowing, so I'm using them as a decorative glass end stop for there. So what we'll do, we've got our cog and a washer, and then we've got the little brass end stops. These are actually out of some plumber's fittings. These are very small. These are just, I think they're called olives. There we are. We never waste anything as crafters. So that's what that is. And on to the end of there, all I've done is get an LED and drop some glossy accents in and bond it onto there. And when that goes together onto there, you'll end up with quite a fancy little end, which I'll put together in a moment. You can always use brass fittings on there. This one in particular has got quite a nice brass fitting on the end, but I'll talk about this using the reduction valve in a moment. So I think, because I use very fast drying glue, 90-second epoxy resin, that's now stuck. So we've now got the LED in the bottom, and I'll just grab a battery, which I had a moment ago. There we go. All these LEDs run from 9 to 12 volts that I use, but I like to use a 9-volt battery. The Duracell Industrial is a good battery to use because it's got plenty of oomph with it. And then before we go any further, we'll just test that to make sure it works by just tucking the wires onto there. There we are. Oh, and we have technology that works, which is always nice. Okay, so we have the valve now. The valve then will sit into there. Just need a little bit of epoxy resin now into there. That's it. So I'll be back in a moment, and I've just stuck that in there. You only have to get a little bit of epoxy resin around the base of the spikes, and then just drop it into the socket. It will then, as you just rotate it, it will then spread the glue out. Any excess glue, just wipe off with a baby wipe, because if it dries it'll mark. As you see there, we've now got that fastened into there, and I'll just let that dry for 5 minutes, and then we'll be back and we'll work on the top of that. But it's looking very, very good at the moment, and I think it's going to look absolutely super when it's all lit. Oh, I just want to light it now, but I've got to wait for it to dry. There we go. Well, I couldn't wait. I've actually put the battery onto the ends, and I've got some action, and I think it looks brilliant. Okay, so we're now to decorate the top. You could leave it as it is, but I think it just gives it that little bit extra. So I've mixed a little bit of my favourite epoxy, which is the EvoStick Express. All I'm going to do is put a little bit on the end. Not a lot, you only need a very small amount, because it is incredibly, incredibly sticky. Just a little bit more. And it goes off in 90 seconds, so it's perfect if you don't want to be messing around holding things for hours. I'm going to pop the washer on first. There we go. Excuse the viewing from above, but if I tip it, it'll all fall to pieces. And we've got that, and then finally we have the brass piece. So I'm just dipping the brass piece in the glue so I get some glue around the base of it so it doesn't go all over the place. And that will go directly onto there. Right, when that's drying about 90 seconds in fact, I shall tip it and show you. But as you can see, my old dad used to say the devil's in the detail, and he's right. You really need to make it look like it's high-tech, low-tech. So I'll just put that to dry and I'll be back in 2 moments. Okay, so there we are. We have the first one done. I'll get a little bit of a cloth to put behind and you can see it better. There we go. So you've got your base cup, which is the foot from a lady's purse. You've got your washer, you've got your valve itself. We have a smaller washer on the end, a cog, an olive, I think it's called an olive out of a plumber's joint, and then an LED in the end, which I kept blowing, so I thought I'll use them as decorative. And that, I think, looks absolutely brilliant, even if I do say so myself. But this is only one way we can do it. The second way I'll show you, if you stay with me, I'll be back in a moment. Okay, this is the second way. This one I've used a plumber's reduction fitting, and to decorate it up when I'd finished it, I've actually put some Tim Holtz, whether they're stickers, whether they're, I don't know what they are, but they're very thick and they're absolutely brilliant for this because they look like a metal that's been etched. And on top of that I've put a brass flange, I think you would call it. This is one that it was one I put on a machine and the machine didn't work how I wanted, and it didn't survive the crash test, i.e. I threw it on the floor in a temper. But hey, none of us are perfect. So I'll use that for something else, hence the reason why I've got tape on it, but hey, never throw it away. Okay, so you've got your reduction fitting, and what we do this time is you pop a washer on top, and the valve sits inside. What's good about doing it this way is the fact that the LED can go in afterwards. All you would do is to feed it in and just put a little blob of epoxy resin on the end so it sticks on there, and that would light in the same way. That's actually what I've done on this one that I showed earlier. This has actually got the fitting on it, the flange on there, and then it goes round through the piping. What I try to do with all the machines that I build is to actually conceal the wires 100% so you cannot see, whoa, it's got its eye on you, where the wires go. Again, I decorated the top with another piece of brass, another fitting, and just a little resin cabochon on top. You can really let your imagination run wild with these. They are so flexible and you can have so much fun. And as I say, you don't need to be a whiz with electronics. All you need is a battery connector, red and black on the LED, pop your battery on the end, and you can't electrocute yourself because it's only 9 volts. I would normally solder these, just a little soldering iron that I got from Home Depot, and then on there, and you see on this one I've used a green LED. No, it's not rocket science, it's easy, anybody can have a go at this at home. If you want to put a switch in, I'll talk about that in another video when we come to wiring up, but isn't that just such fun? And when you combine it with an eye and some recessed lighting, LED lighting, which will be in another video as well, you've got projects. I'm going to show you a gallery now of the way they all work, and I'll give you a voiceover and tell you about the machines that they're on. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you soon. This is the Polyscope and uses 1 lit LED, never till lies in Victorian England. This machine uses 3 lit valves, including one of the very large ones lit from behind with an extra bright LED. This machine just uses one standard LED, but wow, doesn't it look bright. This spaceship's engines was created by using blue LEDs and valves. That's all for now. Don't forget to give me thumbs up and subscribe. TeachFN!